Oh, they may be playing football and the crowd is yelling, kill the referee. But no matter what the score, when the clock strikes 4, everything stops for tea.
Hi and welcome to Spill the Tea, the show for British expats and anyone who just loves all things British. My name's Ian.
And I'm Sam, and you can expect entertainment, interviews, features and everything British. Now on today's show, we do have a British national treasure, and that is Bernie Clifton. Welcome,
We do,
Bernie.
I'm so excited.
I'm thrilled to be on your program, Spill the Tea, because I too am having a cup of tea, and this is my Panto podcast mug, and this is a mug for people who have given up on drinking tea.
And we start the way we mean to go along,
That's
don't
right,
we?
with a good laugh, because that's what we need.
You're talking about spilling tea.
Exactly.
Well,
because it's all about tea. I like my tea very, very, very hot.
And do you take sugar?
What I tend to do is make the tea and then put it on the electric hob, and then the phone rings, and I forget about it, and I've got several mugs like that with no bottom in them.
So do you take sugar in your tea, Bernie?
I love my tea. I'm a proper tea drinker, and here in and when we were in Vegas doing the last laugh, we drank a lot of tea, but some of us brought our own tea over because we weren't sure whether you could get the original Yorkshire and Tetley tea over there. So we packed half of us had our own tea.
As you should. I always get people to bring tea over just to make sure I get the good stuff over here for sure.
Really? Yeah.
So now you mentioned the last laugh in Vegas. That's obviously, I mean, we're broadcasting from Las Vegas, and you and a host of other major stars from the UK came over and did this show, which Sam, you were actually involved with as well.
I was, yeah. I worked with ITV, both on the TV side and the theatre side. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, don't worry, we'll put some links up. But the premise of the show was these amazing stars that we have in Britain. Could they come to Vegas and make it in Vegas? And so they stayed in a mansion. Would you have called it a mansion, Bernie?
Oh, it was a proper villa, wasn't it?
It was. And then it was, they filmed, obviously, coming to the States, picking the rooms, which I thought was the funniest part of the show. Hilarious.
Because everyone stayed in the same house.
Everybody stayed in the same house. And then, they had a coach in Frank Marino, and the coaching was all about putting on this amazing variety show at the Orleans. And so that was the premise of the show. So, Bernie, what was it like when they first approached you and said, we want you to be on this show called Last Laugh in Vegas?
Well, I think we were kind of apprehensive because we all feel, after 50, 60 years in the business doing what we do, that we know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
But we were confronted by Frank, who met us where else but the hub of UK show business, Wigan.
Wow.
Which,
I forgot about that.
It's a little town in West Lancashire. That is renowned for rugby league and cotton and mines when there was a coal mining industry, but they decided that was the best place to meet. And they produced Frank Marino. He came from behind a screen, and we didn't know what to think. We're all sort of what we call ourselves turns, don't we?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Now, just to frame this out for those who didn't get to see the show, which they should if they haven't, because it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was yourself, Bernie, and it was Cannon and Ball, Anita Harris, Mick Miller,
crooner,
Bobby Crush,
yes. Also,
Jess Conrad,
and
Sue Pollard.
Yeah, Sue
That's right.
Pollard. I mean,
let's not forget Sue Pollard.
Oh,
can't forget Sue.
So fantastic. I found out when I actually told my mum was working on the show. My mum actually said, "Oh, I'm friends with Sue," and I never knew. Like, what the heck? So yeah, it was nice to meet Sue and chit chat and catch up. But yeah, so what did it feel like when they approached you? And
It was, and don't forget Kenny Lynch was there as well.
Kenny,
Oh, of course,
he's
Kenny
a
Lynch
singer and
too.
a half. Oh my gosh,
Have
fantastic.
we forgotten anybody?
I don't know.
This
Let
is
me look at
important.
if I look at my pictures, I can tell
I think
you.
that's about it. But I mean, while we're checking, so obviously you're all living in the house. You know, you had the opportunity to share on TV what that was like. But I mean, just between you and us here, I mean, who was the easiest person to live with, and who was maybe the least so easy person to live with?
Well, they were all quite difficult. Let me just take back that first meeting, though. I'll tell you that very first meeting was when Frank Marino looked at me on the ostrich and said, "What?" And they didn't quite get, me in the ostrich. But then he said, "What was it? The phrase now? Oh, a Vegas audience can smell the fear." And one of us said, "You haven't worked a Sunday lunchtime at a miners' welfare in Wigan." We all know about fear, but in the house itself, it was fantastic. They introduced us to this wonderful, sumptuous, like it was like a palace, wasn't it? And there was a card there, and it said, "Go get yourself a bedroom." Well, we were all kind of jet lagged. We're all in our 70s. Jess Conrad passed me on the stairs like a gazelle.
He did, I know.
I'm going up the stairs, and he went past me. And the first thing he did was to find a room with a full-length mirror.
It was.
And then stood in the doorway like that, "Thou shalt not pass." But rather naughtily, the TV production had forgotten to mention there was 9 of us and only 8 bedrooms in the house. But they'd forgot to tell us that just across the yard was a cottage with 4 bedrooms. So, but before we found that out, there was a kind of an impasse where everybody got a bedroom except I think it was Bobby.
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
It was like a
He was not happy.
like a bedroom musical chairs.
Yeah, it was. Well, the thing is,
There's one less than there should be.
Bernie,
Yes, that's right, exactly right.
I think Bernie, I think everybody expected, didn't they, that everybody will sit down and we'll do this fairly, but no, everybody just went to find their rooms, and Bobby was not happy.
It absolutely brought out the worst of us.
Because Bobby said to Jess, do you like your room, Jess?" That made me laugh.
And Jess said, "Well, I've got a full-length mirror." But I think that's the genius of reality television producers.
Yes.
They know what buttons to press.
Right.
And the button to press for us all was, after getting we'd been on the road for about 24 hours.
It was long.
Was to, I know what we'll do. We'll give them the impression that they haven't got a bedroom each.
Because isn't that what you want after all that time? So, Bernie, who was the best cook in the house?
The best cook in the house was Tommy Cannon, who was actually had some experience. I think it was one of those cooking shows, was it? The Master Baker or Bake It Off, or one of those celebrity bake-off.
I love that show, by the way.
He was the master.
I can't remember which one it was, but Tommy did very well on it. He did very well, but he did criticise the way I grilled my bacon.
Oh yeah.
You know me, I'm very easygoing. I can't take any form of criticism. But the thing is, what we had going for us was the fact that in the house we'd known each other for 50 years. So the insults that were flowing backwards and forwards. In fact, one of the regrets I've got about the series is that some of our best times were in the big SUVs when we were being taken around. The insults and abuse that was flowing, and none of that made the screen, which is a proper shame.
Oh, I would love to see.
They needed the director's cut, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
If only, yeah, that would have been brilliant. I mean, they took us out to the desert, and we've got some great pictures and photographs of everybody on a horse, except me. I was hidden in a stable on the ostrich. And the genuine cowboys that came out, that were there sitting there, when I came out on the ostrich, they went, these guys that've seen everything, as a man cavorting around the yard on an ostrich. I'll tell you what, though, for all of us, I promise you, it was the experience of a lifetime. We had such a great time. We've
Yeah.
done. Everybody has done a lot
Yes.
in our business, but to be on stage, and I don't know whether I remember the story. I said to my good lady, "Could you have imagined in your wildest dreams that I would ever go to Las Vegas and get a standing ovation?" And she said, "I don't know how to say this to you, Bernie, but you're never in my wildest dreams."
I will say this, Bernie. For me, working on that show with all of you, I'd grown up watching you on television. For me, was the highlight of my life too. I have to tell you that it was something special, wasn't it? And I mean, after the show, everybody in the dressing rooms and oh my gosh, crying and me begging Bobby for one of his desert boots, which I did. I got both of them signed, and I gave one to one of the crew as well. I mean, it was just honestly, it was. I still rattle on about it because it was so much fun.
And I got to see the show as well. Actually, I was in the audience that night,
it was
and
great.
You were amazing. I mean, the power that you put into your performance, into your voice, into everything that you did was just so incredible. And
if you like, I mean, I keep using this 50 years expression. I mean, it's over 60 for me since, and everybody's at the same boat. We're all in our 70s and 80s. And it was actually the culmination. We've all done a lot. I've done a few Royal Variety shows. In fact, just over my left, can you see that there?
Yes.
That's me meeting the Queen, I think.
That's
I
fantastic.
see that.
Look at that.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
What year was that, Bernie?
That was 1979.
How fantastic.
And I met her a couple of years ago. The Water Rats had a reception. I'm in the Grand Order of Water Rats, which is a big showbiz club guy.
Yeah.
And because we had 150 years tradition birthday, we actually had a reception at the Buckingham Palace. And it was fantastic. It was marvelous. The stories, the Duke of Edinburgh, he's almost as if he plays a part. One of the organisers turned round and suddenly he was behind her, and she said to him, "Oh, sorry, sir, I didn't know you were here." And he went, I live here."
That's amazing.
Funny.
And there were a couple of the guys, and he was asking the musicians. They got a band, and he said, "Where do you actually work?" And they said, "Well, we do some work in the UK, sir, but most of our work is in Europe, on the continent." And he went, "Don't they like you here?"
He needs his own
But the
show.
Queen, I was introduced to the Queen by Simmons, and he said to her, "Your Majesty, this is Bernie Clifton, who entertained you on a Royal Variety show in 1979." And she went, "Ooh." She's very tiny, She's stopped.
Yeah.
So she went, and I said, "Yes, Your Majesty." She went, "Ostrich?" I said, "Yes, Your Majesty." I'm still performing on the Ostrich, but the Ostrich is much, much slower these days. And she went, Isn't it funny how things do get slower?"
I think we should show your ostrich.
Oh, we should.
Wonderful. She stayed.
There we go.
I mean,
She's what is she? She's 93.
I know.
She's exactly 10 years older than me. She's 94 in April, and she stayed in the room with us for half an hour more than was scheduled. She just stayed and chatted. And you remember in Star Wars, R2-D2 was a little guy called Kenny Baker.
Yes.
Kenny they had a double act called the Minitones, Kenny and Jack, and Kenny was in a wheelchair at the time of the reception at the palace, and was in a bad way. And she went over and spent so much time with him. It was fantastic. You wouldn't believe it. She'd got time for everybody.
Oh.
And that was a special time. But in spite of that, and all the tributes and great times that we've had, to get to Vegas was an extra notch on your belt, wasn't it? Because how else and where else we would never have done it.
Right.
Well, I think how much, as kids growing up, we love variety shows. I mean, with it all to come to this fantastic, point at the end of the show where you do this incredible variety show. I think it really, for a lot of people, really brought back a lot of memories.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people were crying in that audience from laughter, but also from, memories of home. And people say it's the best thing they'd seen in town.
Well, it was also not just an exclusively British audience. There was a lot of locals in there too, and I assume tourists who just were getting kind of this exposure and experience for the first time. And the feedback that I heard from Americans and other tourists was just how incredible the whole show was.
Well, this is it. And I know Bobby would say, every time I saw Bobby, he would say to me, "Now, you have got me a British audience, haven't you? You've got me a British audience." And I said, "I have." I said, "There'll be Americans in it." But, because I can imagine, you're so well known in Britain and audience know what you do, they get what you do. I can imagine it feels quite weird to come to a whole different country and go, "I hope they get what we do, me and my ostrich and, the things that we do in our acts." But honestly, the audience, I mean, they did what do they call them? Like testimonials after the show when they video the audience members. And I'm not kidding you. And I have screenshots of every email that was sent to me from people that went to the show just saying, "Best thing I've ever seen, made my night." I mean, I should send them to you, Bernie, because they are so fabulous to read.
Yeah. We don't meet that often. That's the trouble now. The state of the show business over here, you're not working together, doing summer seasons and pantos like we used to. But nevertheless, we're still in touch, and we all. I was organising a charity for cats.
Oh, I love that.
Cat rescue.
Oh.
With a Barnsley author called Millie Johnson. And I rang round and asked, and Anita, bless her, and Sue Pollard both endorsed the charity without seeing it. You know what I mean? On my word.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely marvellous. And Anita, I'm just missing Anita because she's on the road at the moment in Cabaret.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know what part she's playing, but I believe she's brilliant.
Oh, I saw her.
I haven't seen. We don't see each other. That's a problem.
I saw her on EastEnders.
Oh, really?
She had she played like a psychic. Yeah, it was I think it was just a little cameo, and I was just so thrilled to see her. But I have to say, is she not one of the most loveliest people you'll ever meet?
She's such a sweetie, isn't she?
She is.
So now there was another performance that you did a little while back, which was also a big deal, I think, was the fact that you performed on The Voice. Yes. Is that right?
I know, yeah. I was, I started out as a singer. I was a singer with a dance band in St Helens at the Quarp Dance Hall.
All right, yeah. In
St Helens. And so that was my first love, I worked on the building sites. I was a plumber working in bathrooms, so I got great acoustics. And I went and got, when I was 17, went to see the band leader at the Court Ballroom in St Helens. This would be like, it'd be early, mid-50s, wouldn't it?
Right.
And I was drunk. And I said, "Is there any chance I could sing with the band?" And he said, "Come back on Friday when you're sober." Never expected to see me again. So I did. I hadn't got a suit. So I borrowed my brother's pinstripe suit and went along and I sang a song called "Love is a Many Splendid Thing," which was a great song in the 50s by the Four Aces. And he put his saxophone down and went, "Not bad. Come and see me afterwards." And I got the job singing with the Quarp. So I was hooked.
Oh.
I'll never forget the first time when I actually gave a public performance with the dance band one Saturday night in front of all my peers. The whole of St Helens youth was there. And I got up and sang. And it's like giving me goose pimples now just thinking about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it's something you never, ever forget. So I was a singer, but then the nonsense took over, the props. Remember, I'm from Merseyside, and 10 miles down the road from Knotty Ash, where Ken Dodd was brought up.
Right.
So, of course.
So we did have that kind of nonsense about us.
Yeah.
working on building sites with the Scousers and Irish labourers. We do anything for the crack.
Yeah.
So the nonsense was part of my DNA. So when I got into the business proper and started to assemble this vast array of props, like that giant sausage, and
Yes.
That sausage is hilarious. Oh,
and the diving suit, everything that I carry around with me now. Even though, as I say, the ostrich is much slower.
Aw.
Much slower, isn't it? Yes. It's a great life. I mean, I always think, I say this, Ian and Sam, I say this all the time. I just think I'm absolutely privileged to have survived for so long. Here I am, 83. Who would have thought?
So what is the driving force behind you just keep going? I mean,
Yes.
everything. I mean, it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? You just.
Oh,
What is that force for you?
What are you doing? What are you doing right now? Are you doing anything new right now?
I'm doing at the moment. I've got my own podcast. We've done 2 versions of it.
Yes, I listened to it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you for your email. Yeah, we were thrilled, and it replaces a radio show that we did on Radio Sheffield for 5 years, and with virtually a lot of people that live in the area used to come down on a Friday morning when we'd record it. It was called Live-ish, and it was almost like a social club. We'd get 30, 40, 50 people. We'd all come and have a cup of tea, and I'd get a couple of guests and host it, and it was tremendous. But the BBC, in their wisdom, decided time was up. So what we did, there's a wonderful Art Deco cinema in Sheffield called the Showroom Cinema. So what we've done is we've booked a morning there about once a month, and we get the same people, virtually the same audience, and it's a podcast. It's Bernie Clifton's podcast. I know nothing about the technicals, but I just sit there, and 2 young guys come in, a firm called Cornucopia Radio. I thought that was something to do with your feet. Hi, can you cope with your corns? Why not phone Cornucopia? Anyway, they know what they're doing, and they wire me up to them with a pair of jump leads, and they record it, they edit it, they broadcast it, they host it, they put it out on Spotify and whatever else.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying that. And then I'm going to Northampton, and I'm playing Baron Hardup in Cinderella,
Oh.
which will be lovely.
Oh, it'll be fantastic. I love Panto. It's so British, isn't it?
It really is.
It's such a British thing.
And it's sort of hard to explain.
And it is hard to explain, but it's lovely for the whole family.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really love about Panto. Everybody can go together. Now, I know that you were doing some filming. Are you allowed to talk about the filming that you did? Or is that a secret?
The filming?
Or is that a secret?
No.
Oh.
Yes, it is a secret. It is a secret, but for people of a certain age, I can tell you that there is a new version of Crackerjack.
Oh.
That's the children's TV shows.
So you're being subtle here. You're not actually telling us the title of the show because it's a secret, but it's called Crackerjack.
So subtle.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased I haven't revealed the name of the program.
Exactly. Right. Perfect.
Anyway, so
you'll never guess.
Edit. Yeah, there's a series coming back on television, and it's a repeat, if you like, another version of an iconic children's program that ran through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and we went along and popped along and had a look at it, and I think it's going to be great. There are 2 because not everything changes. We had Morecambe and Wise, we had Cannon and Ball, Little and Large. There's 2 more. Ant and Deck. We've got.
Yeah. So this show is it going to be on a Friday
at
by
5
any
to
chance?
5?
At 5 to 5.
Oh, that's giving the title away.
No, not at all.
No, we're being coy, aren't we?
We're being very coy.
Everybody
Nobody's
loved to
gonna
scream
guess.
that, though, didn't they, when the show came on?
Of
You
course.
had to join in to the opening of the show. But you performed on the show.
I was
The original.
I was one of the presenters.
That's right.
Yeah, I was on it for 5 years in the late 70s, and they did get us all together, and it was just brilliant. And there are 2 youngsters. They're called Sam and Mark, and they are children's entertainers, but they're not really children's entertainers. That's the secret, if you like, of pantomime.
Right.
The children think that we're doing it for them.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
little do they know we're doing it for ourselves
It's
and
true.
for their parents and grandparents. They just happen to be the reason that the
Yes.
theatre's full.
Right,
Yes.
so true. That it is so true. And it appeals to all ages.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know this. You are a musician. You're in the Pucker Pie England band, which is amazing. You go to every England game. I've watched that one video, Bernie, where they're picking you up and you're at the roundabout on the floor. That is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But people don't know that you played trombone in the band.
Yeah. Can I just say that the term, the word musician, it's a relative term. It's a Sheffield-based band, the Pucker Pie England band, and because I was working on Radio Sheffield, and I always had a trombone in the studio because it's a funny prop, isn't it? You know,
It is.
And they contacted me and said, "Would you like to join the England band and play trombone?" Because I can't play the trombone. They went, "Of course you can."
So you've played for England?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, technically.
So anyway, they persuaded me, and we ended up going to St James's Park, the big stadium in Newcastle, where England were playing. And John Hemmingham, who founded the band in Sheffield, it was the Sheffield Wednesday Cop Band originally. And it became the England band. Yeah, and John took a trumpet to Hillsborough under his jacket and played, and it got quite popular, and it became a band. Anyway, I've been telling them for 3 months that I can't play the trombone. He says, "Okay, come stand next to me. We'll do the opening number." And the opening number was The Great Escape. So I had to go at The Great Escape, and he turned to me and he went, "You can't bloody play it, can you?" I said, "I've been telling you that for 3 months."
I just love that.
So anyway, what they did, and this is a story that involved Las Vegas, they gave me the slide positions to play The Great Escape. And as you know, a trombone's got slide position 1 to 6. And to play The Great Escape, the slide positions are 4 3 1 1 1 1 3 1 4 3 3 1 2 1 2 4 1 4. Those are the slide positions. So I wrote them on a felt tip pen on the back of the bell of the trombone. So all I had to do was read and go 4 3 1 1 1 1 3 1 4 3 3 1 2 1 2 4 1 4. So I'm getting away with The Great Escape, and then the news came through that Ricky Hatton wanted us to be the Ricky Hatton band.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Hatton, the boxer.
Yeah.
And Ricky Hatton was going to fight at the Thomas Mack Stadium in Las Vegas.
Oh.
So we were booked. They said to me, "There's just one snag. Ricky Hatton's theme tune is Blue Moon. You're going to have to learn Blue Moon." So I went. They came and they rubbed off the numbers on the back of the trombone, and they wrote on the Blue Moon slide, which is 3 3 1 3 1 3 3 1 3 2 4 2 4 2 3 1, and so on. So I just about mastered that. We got to the Thomas Mack Stadium. Now, I don't know if you're aware what kind of a crowd the championship boxing attracts.
It's huge.
But it's feral.
Oh,
you
yes.
know?
Yeah, of course.
So we're now at the Thomas Mack Stadium to do our appearance, to march round the concourse, which is about 200 metres all the way round. And there were 10,000 British Ricky Hatton fight fans there.
Amazing.
And I use the word feral. It was,
Yeah.
So off we went around the stadium, and I'm going 3 3 1 3 1 3 3 1 3 2 4, and I'm thinking, this doesn't quite sound right. I think I've pitched it too high or too low, but I continue 3 3, and we're going around, and I'm thinking, this is wrong. I know it's wrong. 3 3 1 3 1 3. So we finally stopped, and I said to Big Ken, who plays the euphonium, "So sorry, Ken, I just couldn't get the hang of that Blue Moon." And he looked at me and he said, "We weren't playing Blue Moon." They were playing one Ricky Hatton walking in the Hatton Wonderland, and it was similar to Blue Moon, but not.
Is there video of this, Bernie? I've got to find it. Oh,
there's not
should
particularly
be.
a video of that. I mean, when I do my one-man show, I go around with a one-man show with my iPad and a projector and a
Yeah.
screen, and I tell these stories. And I've got a photograph of the trombone with the numbers on the back.
that's
So
fantastic.
That's hilarious.
such a wonderful. So that was my first time in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that was the first performance, in fact.
Playing, with a trombone, carrying a trombone that I couldn't play.
But can you play other instruments, Bernie?
Well, I've got a guitar. It's funny you should say that.
It's funny we should say that, huh?
Are you going to play as a tune?
What I've got. We're having quite a time over here at the moment with our Prime Minister and Brexit.
Oh, I know.
So I wrote a little song, and I'll have to explain it for those of you that are not too close to the meanderings and the machinations of our Prime Minister. I'll break the song up by explaining. So, my name is Bernie Clifton, and I'm on Spill the Tea. I'm thrilled that I'm invited. It all looks good to me. Now I'm stuck here in England, where things are getting harder, and there you are across the world, living in Nevada.
Oh.
Now, so we've got a politician, his name is Boris Johnson. They gave medals out for fibbing, and you've guessed it right, he wants some. He's making lots of enemies, his fibbing's very sinister, but liking it or not, it seems, we've got him as Prime Minister. Now, there was a story came out about how Boris Johnson was behaving at a dinner. And this is a story that came out and accused by a journalist, a female journalist. She's sitting next to him at dinner. And this is actually in her version of what happened. Sitting next to him at dinner, and you might be wondering why. As you're contemplating starters, there's a hand upon your thigh. Now it's not what you're expecting, and it's not appropriate. So keep him at arm's length. He might try to procreate. So that was he denied it, of course. Now he's also it's an amazing man, Boris Johnson. When you think what he's achieved, because he's so unpopular in one sense, and yet he's running the country. And he had this relationship, a stormy relationship, and maybe you still got it, with a girlfriend, and he used to go around and stay at her flat. And he's at her flat one night, and she's screaming at him to get out and get out of the flat because he spilt red wine all over the sofa. So. Boris has a private life, it's impossible to write. He was in his girlfriend's flat and then the neighbours heard them fight. Now we settled down in Downing Street, we knew that he'd go far. But has he gone on spilling more red wine on the sofa? That's just another one. But there's more of him actually. You know, he made this promise to the people that we would leave Brexit on the 31st
That's right.
of October. And he's an eccentric. There's a thing in London called Boris's Bikes, where you can rent a bike.
Yes.
And he's known for riding a bike. You'll see Boris on his bike, with coattails flapping in the breeze, with his helmet on his head, trousers rolled up to his knees, weaving through the streets of London on his way to Parliament. We leave on the 31st, is what he said and what he meant. And then, of course, there's the Labour Party and their leader, a gentleman called Jeremy. So, now the present situation, we all find it quite absorbing. Forgive me, but there aren't that many words that rhyme with Corbyn. He's the man in charge of Labour, and he's always very tense. Is he staying, is he leaving, or just sitting on the fence? Yes, this opposition leader at the centre of debates. He's dividing our opinions. He's someone you love or hate. If you're wanting out of Brexit, will he raise your hopes or end them? when he puts it to the people for a second referendum. But that's Jeremy Corbyn.
That is fantastic.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I've not finished yet.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Keep going. How does it
the
end?
really big scandal with Boris. You have to stop me when you want. I mean,
No,
you know,
no, you carry on.
We're having a great time,
Because
Bernie.
He has been charged by the Greater London Council that he did some favours for a young blonde American lady whose name is, what's her name? I'll tell you her name. Oh, Jennifer Arcuri. I don't know whether she's made the news over there, but when she's a PR lady, she's got her own company. And apparently what transpired is she ended up on all these trips that Boris was on, and nobody could work out whether there was something going on or not between Boris and Jennifer Arcuri. But anyway, the Greater London Council, the papers got hold of it. Now the Greater London Council's hanging Boris out to dry. Did he do a lady favour with a twinkle in his eye? Did he use his Lord Mayor's powers when we know he didn't oughter? When the lady in the scandal could have easily been his daughter. Here we go. Now the lady in the scandal, her name's Jennifer Arcuri, and her links with Boris Johnson's causing lots of rage and fury. Was he giving her a leg up? Then she'd surely be in clover, and perhaps then in return he'd be getting his comeuppance. I'm nearly there. Okay. Now the clock is ticking faster. It'll soon be Halloween. Something magical might happen. Are you picturing the scene? I'd love to go to Brussels when they have their final meeting. Will they give us an extension, or will they end up trick or treating?
Oh, that's
very
brilliant,
good.
honestly.
Yes.
That is so good. I was wondering what the end was going to be. Oh, Bernie, that's so good. Well, Bernie, you know, I mean, your career is just, well, it just keeps going and going and going, doesn't it? I mean, you're always working, as are all the people that came over for Last Laugh in Vegas. People are always surprised. I'm like, no, Bernie's always busy. He's always working. And now the podcast, which I think is really great, can reach so many people. But what do you do outside of your career? What do you like to do?
Well, I've got rather a strange. I try and keep fit because I need to.
Yeah.
And the bones, I think the body resents the pace that I'm trying to drive it at, and it shows me in no uncertain terms. But I live on a little. I'll show you where I live. This is an aerial photograph of. I live on a little farm.
Oh, it's
look at
lovely.
In can you see that?
Yes, we can
it's
see that.
lovely.
Wow, beautiful.
In Derbyshire, it's just south of Sheffield, and at the bottom of one of my fields, I've got a shed, and in the shed I've got an aeroplane. Well, it's not a proper aeroplane. It wouldn't be proper. It wouldn't be me to have a proper aeroplane. It's a microlight. In the States, they call them ultralights.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
Oh, my goodness.
And you fly this thing?
And like an opener, I did some footage once for my Impossible Dream. I did a video to the song. I don't know whether you ever saw it. Did you?
I've seen it, yes. I think it's part of the Oswald video, if I'm not wrong. I think it's further through the video.
It might well be. And it shows me taking off the top of the field and then flying around and coming into land. And the ostrich on the ground looking at me. So that's my, if you like, that's my hobby. That's my other love. When the weather's right,
Yes.
and I've mown the runway. It's a little runway, goes downhill about 200 yards. That's all I need. And I can go and have a little tootle around North Derbyshire, fly over to Chatsworth House.
Oh, it's my favourite. It's my favourite.
The place.
I won't.
Beautiful.
If I ever move back, Bernie, I'm going to work at Chatsworth House. I've decided. It's my favourite place. You live in such a gorgeous area. But
I could give you a lift to work from here. It's only 5 minutes in the plane.
I'd love that.
that
when I come out next, I'm going to come and see you, and we'll do that.
I could see you in a microlight.
Oh yeah, crying and screaming.
In fact, this is my CD we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep, we got it.
Yes.
On the back of it is a photograph of me flying over Chatsworth House.
Oh,
Look at that.
that's amazing. That
Yeah.
is. You do live in a really gorgeous part of the country, though, Bernie.
Yeah,
You really do.
Again, a very, very lucky boy, really, to have. And it's only by chance. I was a plumber in St Helens, and then I did my 2 years national service, and I was posted to Doncaster in
Oh,
Yorkshire, of course. And I got no idea, but I suddenly realised that 15 miles down the road from the aerodrome where I was at Lindholm was Doncaster, and Doncaster was then the hub of northern clubland. There were pubs and clubs springing up, and I realised that the Queen was paying me £3 a week to guard the country from the Russians. And I realised if I went and did what we called a noon and night in a pub as a singer,
Right.
I could get £4.
oh.
So I wrote a song about. At the time, I was a singer called Bernie Quinn. That's my real name, Bernie Quinn. So I changed it to Clifton because I went to this club once and there were strippers on, exotic dancers, and instead of Bernie Quinn on the thing, it said exotic dancer Burma Queen. They'd misunderstood the.
They thought you were one of the dancers.
That's a true story. And I've written a song about that. So at some on another occasion,
Oh,
I'll
yes.
do that song as well.
We would love to have
You
you
have
back
to be a regular.
to perform that song, and also I guess we'll have to do an update as to whatever's happening over in the UK. Then you can give us a musical rendition of
What
what's
happens
going
after
on.
Halloween? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Bernard,
Well, I've got a holiday. I'm planning at some time in Dubai. My children. Oh, I've got to show you this. My children who live in Dubai have just adopted a little girl, and
wow.
we've got a little. I've got a grandson who's 10 or 11, but finally it took them about 2 years to do it, but they adopted a little girl from the Congo.
Oh wow.
Oh,
That's amazing.
It took them nearly 2 years. Excuse me while I find the photograph of her. It took them. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yes.
yes. Oh, she's pretty. Look at her.
Yeah.
So now you've got a granddaughter.
Her name is Lola. She was a showgirl.
Oh.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So,
amazing.
but since then, since she's been over, she's a proper character, and this is her. She was over here in the summer. So that's. Can you see her?
Oh, she's fabulous.
Look at that.
She's got it all going on.
She really does.
I mean, you can imagine we have a hard time forgetting about her and hugging the little boy who's 11. He's had 10 years on his own.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Suddenly, she's got this habit of when they get out of the car of just sitting down on the drive and going, no, not moving.
Oh.
So my daughter-in-law said to Elliot, my grandson, go and bring Lola in. So he came in and she heard him screaming, and she said to Elliot, is Lola all right? He said, yes. I had to carry her in, Mummy, by one arm and one leg, but I didn't use excessive force.
Oh, so you've got he's got some
he knows.
comedy chops
Yeah.
from his granddad.
So I can't wait. I'm going to have some time over there before Panto starts
Oh, it's perfect.
in November, at the end of November. And then I'll be in Northampton with Anita Dobson, from EastEnders.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian
My
May's
mate's
missus.
wife. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Of course.
EastEnders. I mean, come on, and
Of
I mean,
course.
oh,
Yeah.
Bernard, I've got to tell you, this has been a real treat for me in the end.
It really has. It's been so much
I've
fun.
loved it. And you were so good to us when we were in Vegas. It was great. You really made us feel at home. And if you ever see Karen from Sidcup, give her my best.
Oh, when she sees this,
from
she's
Sidcup.
gonna be
Yep.
crying again,
Yep.
again. As she
Oh,
said,
wow.
seeing you on the show and meeting you, she said, made her life.
Oh.
because as a kid,
Wow, that's
they
fantastic.
loved seeing you on television. And she said, I've waited my whole life and I get to meet him. And she honestly said it made her life. And I think that's a brilliant note to end on, because I think a lot of people feel that way, Bernie, that you've really made people laugh. It reminds them of their childhood. They can still see you now. I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, it's great. I'm writing my book. I'm kind of calling it Full Circle because it's gone from the dance band singer to all the nonsense and the Royal Variety shows in Vegas, and I'm now having singing lessons with a tenor in Sheffield at Fulwood. A guy called, his name is Pius. It's a strange name, but he's Irish family, and I'm back to singing better probably than I've ever have in my life. So, day at a time.
Yes.
As my friend Barry Cryer says, don't look too far forward. I'm not even buying green bananas. Enjoy the moment, eh?
Perfect. Thank you so much,
It's been
Bernie.
great, Bernie. And I will see you in Sheffield and we'll go flying together.
Oh, there
That
it
would be
is.
lovely. So Ian and Sam, it's been great, and all the best to Travis, the techie, because you need one of those.
He's good.
He's back
That
there.
guy's good.
He is indeed.
He's holding
And
us together.
We'll see you again soon, okay, Bernie?
Yeah, let's do another one sometime.
We shall.
Yes!
We shall.
Bye,
Perfect.
Bernie.
Take care. Wow. Well, there you have it. Wasn't that epic?
I'm telling you, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I am so
I've got
happy.
all the warm and fuzzies right now.
When I met Bernie, you can tell from this interview how friendly he is and easygoing,
Yeah.
and I just loved hanging out with them, and I'm just so glad that we've become friends.
Well, absolutely, and you know, I think it's a real connection point for those that are watching as well, to be able to go, yes, this is what it's about. This is entertainment. This is where we've come from. These are the real
real
entertainers from our lives. So it's exciting.
Aren't we happy?
Oh yeah,
We're just dead happy with
sets
all
the
of
day
this.
up just right.
Well, I think we're just going to close the show, because if we say
Okay.
anything else, we'll ruin it.
I know. Quick while we're ahead. All right. Well,
Thanks for being with us this week.
thanks to Bernie, and we'll see you soon.
And
Okay.
we'll see you next time to spill the tea. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.